We've got James Slater, Sean O'Hara in for Kyle Brandt and Nate Burleson. Let's start with this, guys. There's always a hodgepodge of topics. We don't quite know how to cram into the rundown, so that's why we have this segment. And we start with this. When asked about his impression of rookie wide receiver Rashad Bateman at minicamp, Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said he is as advertised from a talent standpoint. I want to know which rookie you think will live up to expectations that we were throwing around and juicing for months on our program every morning, Peter. Who's going to live up to it?
We had to pump that well. We had to add intrigue to the NFL draft. Well, now that they're drafted, they've got to actually do something. They can't just be great talk about topics. They've got to actually go out and do it. And I think Jalen Phillips in Miami is going to go out and do it. He was the first pass rusher taken in the NFL draft. He fell all the way to 18. And oh my gosh, did he have a great breakout pro day. And I know you say, well, that means nothing. It's literally a guy in shorts running. But the way people talked about the Jalen Phillips pro day within the NFL, it made me think this guy might have gone top 10. So he goes to 18 to Miami, and why is that such a good place? Oh, well, I don't know. He's going with Brian Flores on that defense where they're going to know a way to use him and set him free. I think Phillips is a really interesting player this season. A lot of expectations on the Dolphins, and all eyes point to the offense. The defense needs to step up as well. Got rid of Kyle Van Noy, got rid of a couple other players, Bryce McCain and others. Now we have a youth movement, and Jalen Phillips might be that guy. I mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago. Classically trained piano player. His grandfather went to Juilliard when he was 11 years old. His father is the dean, or his grandfather's the dean of music at Lynn, the school down there in Florida. Like, this is a different cat than just football. He's an interesting player, but I think he's going to make an incredible impact in year one for the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Phillips, I'm going to put this out there. 10 sacks his rookie year. And that's a lot of sacks for a rookie.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with probably Trevor Lawrence. You guys, we were talking about this. Speaking of silence, we haven't spoke about Trevor Lawrence as much as we probably would have been speaking about him if he had gone to the Jets. We had all sort of talked about this in one of the breaks. But I think the one thing that stood out to me the most about Trevor Lawrence was you often hear so much about these players, but when you actually get to meet them, this was one of the players that to me was as advertised, if not better. A guy that married the girl that he's known since middle school, the guy that went and got surgery on the arm early because Urban Meyer asked him to, a guy that's coming to a place like Jacksonville that now has a coach that is going to be able to adapt this offense to fit his skill set based on what he was running in college and, of course, adapt that to the NFL. And I also love when you were talking to Dabo Sweeney at his pro day, Dabo told me the one thing that stood out about him is with a lot of these players and they're, scouting them early. He scouted him when he was a freshman. And he said it was Trevor Lawrence who picked up the phone and said, Coach, I'm coming, like pretty nonchalantly, never asked him who's in front of me, when am I going to get to start? And then, of course, he came in mid-season of his rookie year and did what he did. And so I think obviously the expectation for any quarterback is to go to a Super Bowl. I think that's a little bold to predict, but I think that what he's going to do, the expectation is to turn this into a winning program. And I think that he can do that in year one.
Yeah, listen, I love talking about these rookies and their impact they're going to have on the NFL because the game has certainly changed. There's no longer are you coming in as a rookie and biding your time. They're expecting you to make an immediate impact. And for me, it's Jamar Chase. Now, I'm curious to see how him opting out last year and not playing, that combined with the virtual offseason that they're going through and probably some limited time in training camp now possibly. I'm curious how that aspect can be overcome and how he can knock that rust off. But when you look at what Jamar Chase did in college with Joe Burrow, who he's reunited with, obviously, the production, his physical ability, that catch readiness right there that you're seeing, his ability to make those wow plays, that's not going to change. That doesn't change when you get to the NFL. And as a receiver, the ability to make an impact. It's like going from college basketball to the NBA. That rim is still 10 feet high. Nothing has changed. Yeah, the three-point line may be a little bit further back, but none of that has changed. The same thing for being a wide receiver and with Jamar Chase. I think when you look at what he's going to bring to this offense, what Joe Burrow did with T. Higgins last year, a rookie, and with Tyler Boyd, this is going to be an unbelievable three wide receiver core right here. And I think for Jamar Chase, when you look at the touchdowns that he scored, 20 touchdowns in his final season, 14 of them were on big plays, deep throws. That's something that he's going to be able to bring with him to the Bengals, and I think that's going to be a huge aspect of it. When you think about the production, just wrap your head around this, guys. He didn't even play football last year, and yet he still had more receiving touchdowns in the last 2 seasons than any receiver in college football.
Sean,
pretty good.
I got to tell you, I'm happy to hear you saying this, that he's going to live up to expectations, because the burden of expectations are heightened. That's not his fault where he was drafted into who, but they did not take an offensive lineman. You are an offensive lineman lover here on the program, so I think there are heightened expectations. Jamar Chase better bring it. That connection better be real and successful and carry over from the LSU days, because they did not take a Penei Sewell. They did not take a Rashawn Slater to protect Burrow. Those are the choices, right? Let's protect him and take the responsible pick, or let's shoot for the moon and get him the exciting, dynamic wide receiver to go along T. Higgins. I like that they're getting your sign of approval in him making a play here, because if Burrow can't stay upright and they can't protect him, it's going to be very connected to Jamar Chase and what he's able to do out there.